Hello, everybody. We are going live again today. So thank you so much for being here. Whether you're listening live or you're watching this back, I'd just like to thank all of you because you keep showing up to these. So something must be going right. So thank you for everyone for your amazing words, your amazing comments. So today is going to be another incredible episode. We got Josh. He's just arrived already. He's straight into the room. So yeah, we got Josh Payne, my friend. Yeah, this guy is absolutely incredible. Like every time I hear him share or speak or yeah, just share his words of wisdom, I'm like, wow, like look, you're gonna find out for yourself. So there's enough for me talking about it. Let's get him up. So Josh, send me an invite or I'll invite you if I can. Here we go. Let's see what we can do. Yeah, tune in guys because every time, like I say, I hear Josh speak, I'm just amazed by his words of wisdom. Here he is. Whoa.
What's up, my man?
Josh, I'm good, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing outstanding. Great to be on with you, Ryan. This is a long time coming, man. I'm excited
Oh,
for it.
I know, right? Like we've been planning this for a while now, like we've known each other for a little while, Josh, right? And yeah, no, I'm so glad that I managed to bring you here today because like I just mentioned, like I love hearing you speak, Josh, because I'm just like, whoa, like every time you say something, I'm just like, this guy knows what he's talking about. So I just want to share your words of wisdom with the audience here today as well, Josh. So thank you so much for being here, my friend.
It's my pleasure, man. I have enjoyed the opportunity to get to know you. We first got connected through Clubhouse on the Breakfast with Winners, and I came in there. I'm like, man, every time I come in, Ryan is just dropping some major knowledge each and every time up there on stage, and then I heard your story. And I got to tell you, man, it is just one of the most amazing stories. That's why every time I was in a room there, and you had an opportunity to share. I wanted to make sure you did because you have such an incredible story, such an inspiration to so many, and including myself. So thank you so much for just being an example of resilience, an example of determination, an example of I'm going to take this incredibly life challenging situation and turn it into something extraordinary. That you've done is remarkable, and more people need to know about it.
Oh well, look, I'm lost for words, Josh. Wow. So thank you so much for your amazing words there, my friend. I really do appreciate you. And anyone, I think like you're interviewing me, right? But no,
Well, you
thank
know what?
Josh. Honestly, thank you so much, my friend.
Absolutely. So
So
let's get into it,
yeah,
man.
let's get into this. So everyone, we see a few faces in. So thank you everyone who's showed up so far. So just tune in, people. Stay tuned in because Josh is going to drop some bombs. So Josh, let's get kicking off. Let's get started, my friend. So could you then please explain a little bit about who you are and what you do? Maybe some of your, say, challenges growing up through, let's say, your 20s or teenage years. Yeah, a little bit about your past life. What maybe some of the jobs or experiences that you had whilst growing up, and what
Uh,
did you have to do in order to get you to where you are today?
Absolutely. Well, growing up since I was 5 years old, my entire life revolved around playing professional baseball. And you couldn't find a picture, or I can't find a picture, digging through old pictures that I find that I don't have a baseball glove on, or a bat, or a ball, or out on the field. That was my life. They say Mickey Mantle talks about the great Yankee player talked about how he loved hitting a baseball. I love hitting a baseball. And that's how I grew up. There was nothing I wanted to do other than being on the baseball field. And it led me to go to school in college, playing baseball, went to school on Division I college baseball scholarship, had an incredible career, was ended up being inducted into the Hall of Fame, was MVP, appeared in Sports Illustrated, all conference, all these incredible accolades, right? But a couple of things that I think have contributed to who I am today that I learned through that process. First and foremost is I was not the most talented athlete. As a matter of fact, I had probably 70% of the talent that others had at that level. When we looked at the number 3 rated conference in our nation as far as Division I college baseball, man, I played with some studs talent-wise. I was probably 70% of the talent. So I had to figure out a way to compete. I had to figure out a way to make the dream, to continue to excel towards the dream. And I just realized what I lacked in talent, I could make up with in work ethic. And I had 300% of the work ethic. And I just figured these guys may be bigger, they may be stronger, they may be faster, but I'm going to bury them with my work ethic. And that's the way I was able to compete. And so I learned that at an early age. And that really has contributed on in my professional career past baseball. But that's what made me successful. And so I learned that early on. And then from a challenge standpoint, everything was going in the direction that I wanted until one day I found myself laying on my back on the ground, staring up at the sky after suffering a back injury. And it was at that point in time, I understood the game of baseball. I trained with the greatest players in the major leagues at that point in the off season. So I understood what it meant when you had a back injury like that. And I realized at that point, my dream of playing at the next level was over. And I remember the feeling of when that season ended. The passion in my life was gone. The purpose was gone. You know, everything I had wanted was taken away at the top of my career. And I didn't know what I was going to do, man. And I did what everybody said to do, which was to finish school, get that degree that was supposed to enable me to provide for my family long term. And so that's what I did. And really what happened at that point was I was living a life of quiet desperation. I didn't know what I was going to do in my life. I had this huge dream. It was really interesting because as an athlete, I had that vision of the dream I wanted. I knew I could achieve it. But once that was taken away, I fell right back down into that middle class mindset as it related to my career, because that's all I knew. All I knew was to go to school. All I'd ever learned from were people that had a job, that were employees, that were teaching me how to be an employee. And so my step into my career landed me, and this is sort of where I'll finish and turn it back over to you for any questions, but it landed me in an industry for 10 years running private country clubs. Some of the wealthiest people in the world here in the Silicon Valley, all the big founders of the tech companies were members of mine. And for 10 years, every day I went to work, I served and witnessed what life was like being some of the richest people in the world. And it was at that point I realized, wait a second, there's an entirely different world that I don't know about. And I looked at these guys and I said, man, they put their pants on the same way I do. They tie their shoes the same way I do. But the one thing that was different is the stories they were telling themselves and telling other people were entirely different than the story I was telling myself and telling other people. And it was at that point at 31 years old, Ryan, I realized I needed to unlearn everything I'd ever been taught about business, career, success, and relearn it from the people that had the life that I wanted. Because everything in my life had been programmed by people who lived what I knew, which was to have a job. I wanted more. I couldn't do it as an athlete anymore. And I had to find another avenue. And that was what I realized. And at 31, I said, never again am I ever going to listen to anybody who does not live the quality of life that I want. And everything in my life changed at that point.
Wow. Thank you so much, Josh, my friend, for sharing that with us. And we've got some amazing comments coming there. So, I mean, like, I could take away so much from what you just said there. Number one, like the surroundings, you surrounded yourself with those people. So yeah, like I say, like I like my quotes, right? Like I have a quote and I made it up. I said, you'll never achieve Maserati dreams with a Mazda mindset. Because you said, I put my pants on the same way that those people do. What's different? The only thing different is that story that they're telling themselves. It's the mindset. So you obviously went through, say, a painful experience in your life, but that actually turned out to be, say, one of the best things because it put you on a path of purpose and it introduced you to, say, a whole different world which almost opened up your eyes and gave you a vision. Again, like another quote that I made, which is, sometimes your most profound periods of pain can also turn out to be your greatest gifts of growth. So for you, like, you had that vision, that was your goal. Like, you grew up living, breathing, dreaming, seeing baseball. And when that was, say, stripped away from you, you could either say you come to almost like a T-junction. This is what I'm seeing it as, like a T-junction. Do I go left? Do I go right? And it's almost like my career is over. But then also, it's opened another fresh door, and almost an even better door. And you've gone down that route and you've managed to create something amazing. So, Josh, what I want to go back to is maybe the first thing that I heard you say, and I know how big you are on this as well, so I want you to share this with the people that are here today, is you said from a young age, you knew exactly what you wanted, that goal. You had a vision, you had a goal. So can you talk to us about your goal setting?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's interesting you say that, because in my experience now in 14 years in business, training, developing people to get started in business, to move out of the 9 to 5 rat race that I was in and do the same thing I did, I am amazed at the number of people who have never, the vast majority, that have never clearly identified what it is that they want in life. It's not everything, it's everything plus everything, is to have that clarity of exactly what we want in life. Look, I talk about there's 5 steps to kind of upgrading your life. The first one is awareness, right? For me, that awareness came when I was all of a sudden surrounded by these people that had what I wanted. And I go, wait a second, like, the vehicle changed, but the dream never died, right? I just had to find a different vehicle. Now I was surrounded by people that could teach me that next level of vehicle. It wasn't going to be as an athlete. It was going to be in business, but now I could learn, like I did from all the Major League Baseball players I trained with and everything. I learned what it was like to play at the next level. I learned that from the people in business. Once the awareness was there, I had to have clarity of what I wanted. And most people never clearly identify what they want. You know, Napoleon Hill wrote an entire book about it in Outwitting the Devil, called a concept called drifting, that he wrote an entire book about. And he said the number one separator between the successful and the unsuccessful is that the unsuccessful have no clearly defined definiteness of purpose. They just wander through life accepting whatever life's going to give to them with no clear definiteness of purpose, right? He said that the successful people, the non-drifters, have a crystal clear definiteness of purpose. He calls it in Think and Grow Rich, that clear, concise mental picture of exactly what they want. And here's the importance of it, because shit, man, life's going to hit us every day, right? We're going to wake up in the morning. We're like, man, today's going to be the greatest day ever. And by 10 a.m., you've just gotten beat to pieces, right? You got hit by things left and right. So what is it that keeps the successful moving forward despite what happens is that clear focus on what they want. And see, when we identify that, here's what it operates like. We've all been bowling, right? I think most people have taken, I'm a terrible at bowling, right? But my kids love it. And when we go bowling with my kids, what's the first thing I do? I say, buddy, put those railings up on the gutters, because these kids, who knows where the ball's going? And the only way they're going to get it down to those pins is to have those railings up, so the ball just bounces off the railings and eventually hits the pins. That's what having clarity is in life. It's the railings on a bowling alley that keep the ball moving towards the pins, right? It's that course correct. And so that clarity of knowing what you want is look, Yogi Berra says, if you don't know what you want, you might, or where you're going, you might end up somewhere else. Or Mark Twain says, I can help anybody get what they want. I just can't find anybody that knows what they want, right? I mean, so this is something, Brian, that's talked about by so many, yet so few have clearly identified what they want. You know, 3% of the United States, only 3%, there's 330 million people, which means just over 10 million people have written down clearly defined written goals. To take it a step further, less than 1% write their goals daily. So where do you start? Identify what you want. Become crystal clear on what you want. Commit it to paper. Commit it to paper. And write it daily. In the morning when you wake up, and at bed before you, or at night before you go to bed. And what does that do? That operates like the railings on a bowling alley. It's the course correct. It's what brings us back and keeps us centered towards where we're going. So we continue to put one foot in front of the other, one foot in front of the other. Why? Because we're moving towards the desired destination. Without that being identified, we're like Napoleon Hill says, we drift. And reality really is, and I'll turn it back to you, is that the second I stop writing my goals in the morning, I begin to drift. So what brings me back? What's the course correct? When I write them at night, gets me recentered. And then I sleep all night, and the subconscious mind works on it. I get up in the morning, I write them again, and it course corrects, and then I begin to drift all day. Well, what is it that's going to keep me from continuing to drift? I write my goals again. Boom, I'm right back on purpose, right? And that's how important I know clarity, knowing what you want. Because look, man, we all have desires. I wish I was further along. I always want more. That's the nature of an achiever. And what keeps us moving towards that? Being clearly defined, on having that clearly defined goal of exactly what we want. So we persevere through the ups and the downs, right? It's not an option to get knocked off. Why? Because I know where I'm going.
Thanks again, Josh, so much. Like, seriously, wow. Like, what stood out to me there was a quote, and it says, if you don't know where you're going in life, any road will get you there. And the word that you mentioned was drifting. That really stood out to me. And the way that I look at it, Josh, is just imagine a boat out at sea, right?
Yeah.
And that boat's out at sea, but it's got no port of call, so it doesn't know where it's going. So it's going to be out there in the ocean somewhere, bobbing around, drifting. And at one point, it's either going to run out of fuel or it's going to become lost. And then it's just drifting and drifting and drifting. And at that point, it's down to the winds or the tide to take it to wherever it wants to go. For anyone that's listening to this, just realise that it's never too late to reset your sails, because it's the same winds that blow us all. So you need to have that clear direction of where you're going. But I love the way that you said about the bowling alley, right? The barriers come up and it just course corrects, because I believe the person without purpose will be distracted. They will be taken off their track by distractions, right? Because if they're going along and they haven't really got a clear goal, their mind's over there, their mind's elsewhere, right? So they're thinking, actually, I can go this way, I can go that way. But that definite sight or vision of where you're heading in your mind will just course correct you, which I love the word which you said, course correct. So anytime you sort of drift too far over to one side, it says, no, come back this way, this is where you're going. So yeah, no, I absolutely love that. So Josh, I want to ask you actually, because I know I've heard you say this a few times, like you write your goals down twice a day. So for me and anybody listening as well, if you say write your goals twice a day, how do you do it? Is it literally the same thing twice a day?
Yeah. So I have taught a process for 14 years, and I've modified it as I've gone, right? And just as I've grown in the process, because it's what I do religiously. If I don't write my goals down for some reason, I'm like going through the day like, man, something feels off. And it's simply because I didn't start the day right. I didn't write my goals. I've been doing it for 14 years. And so the way it works is I usually every quarter, right? We just finished quarter one. So quarter two, we went through a quarter two goal setting process. And so I've got some clear 1 year goals, but then the goals I write on a daily basis are redefined based on whatever that next quarter is. Okay. So, particular measurements change. And so I outline that, and I've got a whole process on how to set up those goals. And really, it's real simple. You just sort of look at, there's 4 areas I look at: home, business, personal, and health. And the process I take our team through, I say, okay, I want you to write down your top 3 goals in each of those areas, right? And then we're going to select one from each area to focus on in this quarter. So 1 business goal, 1 financial goal, 1 health goal, one personal goal to focus on during this quarter. And then what we're going to do is we're going to create 3 affirmations, 2 to 3 affirmations for each of those goals. And so that daily goal writing process then is to write the 4 goals, right? What are those 4 goals I'm focused on? And then to write the affirmations that are associated with each one of those goals. So that right there, writing my goals and writing my affirmations and saying them out loud with emotion, etc. Right? That process is life-changing. Less than 1% of the population writes their goals daily. So how do I write my goals daily? Okay, figure out what your goals are. Maybe it's quarterly, maybe it's annually, however you do it. I think a 90-day game plan is perfect for a laser focused period of time. Top 3 in each of those areas, right? Home or family, business, financial, health, personal, right? Those 4 areas, your top 3 goals in each of those areas. Then you pick your number 1. You pick 1 goal out of each of those areas. So you got 4 goals. Then create 2 to 3 affirmations that support that goal. And you write those down every day, right? Every morning, every night, every morning, every night. Keeps me clearly focused on what my next 90 days are all about. And then after that, I simply write down, what am I grateful for? 3 things I'm grateful for, right? Every day, starting with an attitude of gratitude, right? It is impossible to have a negative mindset with a grateful heart, right? And so I write out what I'm grateful for. And I do that. And that process I do religiously every morning, every night, every morning, every night. And that's how I come up with it. And that's the course correct. It's like the autopilot on a plane, right? If a plane is flying from SFO, San Francisco, to London, it's going to spend 99% of the time off track. And what's going to happen? It's going to course correct. It's going to course correct it. And that's what enables it to land in London. And that's what, to me, writing the goals are. And that's how I sort of approach them to create what I write and then the affirmations to support that.
Man, that was incredible. Yeah, I'm sure many people are going to take a lot away from this there, Josh, and hopefully they're going to re-listen to this, because you just literally talked out a masterclass there on how to set goals. And yeah, I love everything that you said about there. So again, a few little things that I picked up. So yeah, what I was just thinking as well about that course correct, I just keep thinking of the course correct because it's so true. Like the way that you mentioned it about the plane, the bowling alley, like, because it is the purpose. The person without purpose will find pleasure in distractions. Like we all get so distracted by these little shiny penny syndromes, right? And we want to go over there or over there because we need to be very, very clear on where we're going. But you mentioned this earlier, actually, Josh, which was about almost being sort of dissatisfied. I like to call this positively dissatisfied, because we shouldn't ever say be comfortable or like, yeah, I feel okay, I've made it sort of thing. We should never say those words, I've made it, because progress equals happiness. So I believe in life that we should be positively dissatisfied, which means grateful for where you currently are, but excited for where you're going. And with a goal setting, Josh, I set my goals. I literally have, say, a lifetime goal, and this is a big, audacious goal. This goal I may never potentially ever reach, but it keeps me, say, getting up in the morning and waking up and trying to head towards this big, big, audacious goal. And I like to see this as, say, the horizon. So just imagine the horizon, like the closer that you get to it, the further that it keeps moving away. But that gets you up in the morning. It makes you want to jump out of bed and say, right, I'm going to go after this. And then you need to set yourself, I believe, is like a 10-year goal, 5-year goal, 1-year goal, and then break it down even more. Yeah, 1-year goal, a quarterly goals, etc., monthly goals, weekly goals, and just keep chunking them goals down and just break them down. And I love what you said as well about having those 3 goals and then highlighting one. Like that's the way that I do it too, is have 3 goals for each section and then just highlight that one and be like, this is a non-negotiable. Like I must get this done no matter what. So yeah, Josh, thank you for explaining how you set your goals there. I really love that. So I briefly want to go back to what you said at the start. You said about the importance of surrounding yourself with people that are better than you, because you mentioned, Josh, with a sports there, you said you wasn't the best player. Like you wasn't the best player, but you was learning so much from those people by putting yourself in those situations, almost like an imposter syndrome. Like I believe in life, if you don't feel like an imposter, you're in the wrong room or you're in the wrong space. Like you should always try to actually feel like an imposter, because that is the way that you grow. That's what I believe. So Josh, could you talk to us a little bit more about that, my friend?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's interesting because if you look at, there's a lot here. If you look at somebody like Tom Brady's the best quarterback that ever lived, but he's not the best athlete that ever lived. He's not the best athletic, gifted quarterback, right? But he was the best quarterback based on the results that he got, right? I was not the most gifted athlete. I came out of there one of the best players that ever went there because of the results that I put up. And so that's important to understand, right? I knew I was never going to be the best, but what was going to be my winning edge? What was going to be that competitive winning edge that was going to give me when I faced my opponent in the field of battle, that I was going to be able to beat them? And I knew that came down to work ethic. The only thing I could control was me and the amount of work I was willing to put in. So they may be more gifted, but baby, they are not going to outwork me. And in time, I will beat them on the field of battle, right? Now, let's talk about environment. This is so important. It's so important for entrepreneurs in particular, because a lot of times as entrepreneurs, Ryan, we're stepping out. We're the unicorn in the group of the family or the environment. We're the ones that are stepping out of the norm, right? And here's the thing about environment, and why environment is so important. Bob Proctor talks about this a lot in his newest book, Change Your Paradigm, Change Your Life. He does such a great job of illustrating this. Environments are not static. Relationships are not static. Well, what do you mean by that, Josh? Real simple. In a relationship, the second I raise up, okay, one of two things will happen, guaranteed. This is a law, like the law of gravity. I drop this pen, it's going to fall. Now, we can debate, but it's going to hit the ground every time, okay? When I raise up and I decide I'm going to elevate my standards in life, I'm going to do something more. I'm going to step out. I'm not satisfied. I'm what I call blissfully discontent, right? As you in your example of that, I step out and I say, I want more. Okay. Either environment, one of three things. Either my environment is going to raise up to where I'm at, or eventually it's going to drag me back down to it. Let me say that again. The second I step up, either the environment will raise up to me. If it doesn't raise up to me and I stay there, it's going to drag me back down to it. And so the only other option is to cut that environment out and change the environment. So in relationships are the same way. The second I raise up, look, friends, family, associates, whoever it is that I'm hanging with, either they're willing to grow with me, or if I stay there, they'll drag me back down to that normal level I was at. We do not stay the same. And so if they're not willing to raise up and I don't want to come back down, then I've got to take the third option, which is to cut out the fat, right? To trim the fat so that I can continue to grow, because the environment, one of the two is going to happen. And if I can't raise them up, eventually they're going to drag me back down. And if I want to continue to grow in life, and I want to be able to stretch, look, social distancing was not invented for COVID-19. Social distancing was invented, the concept was created to use with your environment that's not willing to grow with you. Doesn't mean I got to chop the branch off the tree, right, and cut them out of the family. No, I've just got to become unavailable. Let me say that again. I've got to become unavailable. Well, what does that mean, Josh? I just can't answer the phone. I can't answer the text. I can't go over to the barbecue. I can't go to the family picnic. Why? Because I'm unavailable, because my focus on my dreams is too important to subject myself to an environment that's going to try and pull me down because they're not willing to go up, because one of the two is going to happen. So what do? I'm just unavailable. They go, Josh, that's my family. Great. You just are unavailable. You just minimize, you socially distance yourself from the people that aren't willing to grow with you, and you replace that with people that are. Greg Reed said this to me one time. Greg Reed, the author of 3 Feet from Gold, was involved with the Napoleon Hill Foundation. He said, Josh, here's the difference between the world class and the middle class. The middle class accept the advice from the people they associate with, namely family, friends, etc. He said the difference is the world class, they seek guidance from people that are achieving they're getting the results that they want to get in life, that are where they want to go, that they seek advice from people that have the life that they want and are getting the results that they want right now. Whereas the masses accept the perspective of those that are surrounding them right now. And I think that speaks everything to environment and the power of it.
Well, fantastic, my friend. So good. And again, what stood out to me there was there's a quote, and it says, if they can't grow with you, then they can't go with you. Because in life, I believe people are like either vacuums or they're like chargers. So some people who are the chargers will help boost you up to that next level of life, but the vacuums will sort of suck the drive out of you, which in return will hold you back. But it's your choice at the end of the day. Like you said, become unavailable, which I loved. So in life, I believe there's 3 things that you can do with, say, other people, which is, number 1, say those vacuums, you should have limited association with them. The chargers, you should have expanded association with them. But if certain individuals, say, are too much of an energy vampire and they're sucking that life out of you, you need to sometimes consider disassociation, because it gets to a point where sometimes it might be difficult, but you have to make the decision to make an incision and cut some people out of your life. Because the way that you said about it, Josh, is COVID-19 gives you time to think, who do I actually want around me? Because environment is everything. Like, you are a product of your environment. They say we become the average of the 5 people that we spend the most time with. So if you look at your, say, circle, and you're not inspired or empowered, you don't have a circle at all, but you have a cage. So you need to make that decision to find new associations, because environment is everything. So, yeah, no, thank you so much for sharing that with us, Josh. So, leading on to this, after your amazing shares there, I want to sort of come on the sort of downside of the hill here of this episode today. So, Josh, I have 5 specific questions that I ask all of my guests. So if you're happy to go through some of the questions, I'd love to fire them out to you, Josh.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Okay, amazing. So, guys, tune into this, because this is one of the best bits. So what I want to start with, Josh, is the question, what is the best piece of advice that you have ever received, and why?
If somebody does not have the exact quality of life that you want, you must not listen to them. For if you do, you're going to get more of the results that they've already gotten. And I think that that's so important, Ryan, because goes back to environment, who we associate with and who we're listening to is going to ultimately, as you said, is going to ultimately determine our future. And we all have a broke Uncle Bob, right? A broke Uncle Bob. borrowed $20 from you last week, but wants to give you career and financial advice this week, right? And we've just got to understand that the precious real estate we have between our ears must only be treaded on by people that are getting the results and doing the things that we aspire to do in life, and that can help lift us up to that next level.
I mean, again, it's so true. Like, you literally are a product of your environment, which we said before. Like, you become what you both consciously and unconsciously consistently consume. Like, this in here is like a sponge, and it's whatever you absorb, it's gonna suck it all up. So yeah, like, never ever take advice from someone who isn't where you want to be. Like, don't take advice from somebody that you wouldn't happily trade places with. And for me myself, like 2020 was a big one for me. Like, I spent every weekend going to like random pubs, meeting random people. Like, oh yeah, what advice can you give me for my life? And they'd just lead me down this path and almost create a path which was the total opposite to what I wanted. And I was be like, oh yeah, maybe I should go down that path. Like, no one knows what's best for your life more than you do. So you need to get advice from people that you aspire to be, or people that you look up to and think, wow, I would drop everything I have today to have their life. Like, don't ever listen to other people that are going the opposite direction to you.
Right.
But yeah, just from what you said, like, surround yourself with positivity, whether this is people, books, or online content, because your mind is like a factory, and the ingredients that you're putting into it will be used to make the final product, which is your life. So make sure you're consuming the good stuff and not this shit, basically. So Josh, thank you so much, my friend, for that one. So I want to flip that question actually to the other side, which is, what is the worst piece of advice that you have ever received and acted on, and what was the result?
Worst piece of advice I've ever received is that education has anything to do with making money. Education equals knowledge, but there's a lot of broke derelicts out there, right? There's a lot of educated broke people out there. And I just realized that my second education, the environment I surrounded myself with at 31 years old, was going to teach me exactly how to get to where I wanted to go in life. And then I was going to unlearn everything I'd been taught through 23, 24 years of school and multiple degrees in college. Is that was education equal knowledge, but had nothing to do with making money. And I was taught that the more education you had, the more degrees you had, the more money you were going to make. And that just wasn't the case, right? I mean, I come out of college and they go, okay, great, you have this degree. Now, if you go back and get, you want to make more money, go back and get another degree. I go get another degree. You want to make more money, go get another degree, go another degree. And then finally, you want to make more money. Wait a second, time out. I don't want to make this amount of money. I want to make this amount of money. So you can take that next degree and that next piece of education and burn it in that bucket over there, because that has nothing to do with making money. And I'm going to go find people that know how to make money, and I'm going to learn from them exactly what I have to do to build a life, serve people, and create freedom.
Wow, man, that's amazing. And yeah, like I say, the world is full of information and not enough implementation, because we just feel the need to go out and get all these certificates. Like, people attach their self-worth to a piece of paper. Like, yeah, I've got this degree in whatever it is. Like, no one's ever heard of it. How's it gonna serve you in your life to actually live in the real world? Like, people are living in this fantasy world with a piece of paper. Like, listen, if anyone's listening today and you maybe got bad grades at school, or you failed exams in your life, that doesn't mean that you can never go on to achieving everything that you've ever dreamed and desired to achieve, because there's so many people out there that are living proof of it. So Josh, thank you so much. And that leads me on actually to the next question, which would be, I know you mentioned it there, what is, say, the main, or what is the main thing that you had to unlearn throughout, say, growing up?
I had to unlearn the linear way of thinking about making money, which was that a job, being an employee, was going to enable me to live the life that I wanted. And I had to relearn the idea of being paid based on profits, not wages. Well, what does that mean? The world of being a business owner, the world of entrepreneurship. Because see, here's what happened. I had a defining moment. I was having lunch with a guy who was a member, young entrepreneur, very successful, had exited a couple of companies here in the Silicon Valley, was loaded, right? Had built another company. And he said to me, he said, I'm trying to make sure I get this right. He said, Josh, he goes, you're incredibly talented at what you do and running the country club and just, basically creating an experience for our members when they came there. He said, but if you continue to do it the way you're doing it, you'll never have what we have. And that was a gut punch because at the time, I was still in that process of unlearning the what I had been taught, right? So I still was in that thinking of career, job, etc. And he said, look, Josh, he said, you've got to understand this. He said, there's 350 members at this club. I said, yeah, I know that. He said, we all come from different backgrounds. I said, yeah, I know that. He said, we all come from different countries. There are people from all over the world that are members here. I said, yeah, I know that. And he said, but let me tell you what we all share in common. He said, everybody here owns a business. There are no employees here. You want what we have, but you're earning your income the wrong way. You're an employee, and there are no employees that are members here. So you've got to figure out a different way to earn your income. And he said, what you need to do is find somebody who's going where you want to go. You look into their eyes, you know they're going to get there, and they're willing to teach you what to do to get there. He said, when you find that person, you unhitch your little red wagon on whatever it's hitched on, and you hitch it onto them because they're going to drag you to the top with them. And my life changed at that moment.
Wow, like the way you explained it there, I literally just saw that where you said about unhitching and hitch it to them. Like, and again, it just goes back to say asking that advice from say potentially the wrong people. Like you need to find people that will go in that direction where you want to be, or who have even been there, and be like, I'm going to hitch onto them, and I'm going to learn as much as I can from those people. But yeah, I love what you mentioned about the job, etc. Like there'd be people here that are listening that maybe, like I was for a long, long time, comfortable taking a wage. And for me, like I stayed in that comfort zone for 13 years. I was at the garage, almost 13 years or whatever it was, fixing cars, and I was so sort of uncomfortably comfortable just taking that monthly wage because that's what we get taught by society to do, right? To take a comfortable, safe wage because it's a safe job. Like job stands for just over broke because at any moment in time, your boss could turn around and say, look, that role does not exist anymore. So never let your wage be your cage. And yeah, we can learn a lot from you, Josh. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. So the next question I'd like to ask you, Josh, is what is the greatest lesson that you learned from your most painful life experience?
Yeah, that definitely is very easy. That was when I got injured as an athlete. And it's really interesting, Ryan. There's a saying, hindsight's 2020. Everybody has it, but it won't pay you a dime. Foresight though will make you wealthy, right? And that's being able to see what people want me before they want needed, right? When I went through now looking back, I realized that God had a different plan for me than as an athlete. But man, let me tell you something. When I was going through it, it was the hardest thing in the world because you love something so much, you're at the top of your game, and then it's gone. And I mean, this is the story of so many athletes, right? You can, the list is a mile long of the number of people that would share the exact same experience with me as an athlete. But what I learned and what I chose to be my driving force was what I said earlier. The vehicle changed or had to change, but the dream never died. See, I was a dreamer. When I got in that environment where I was surrounded by the people doing what I love to do and living the life, man, I was a dreamer. I would watch these meetings that are happening on the picnic tables, at the grill after they were playing golf. And I'm just going, man, I wonder how much money's being transferred hands there, right? Those are the meetings I wanted to be in. I saw myself in those meetings. So by understanding that I was not going to lose the dream, that I was going to pick myself up, I was going to dust myself off, and I was going to figure out how I could go out there and make it happen in a different vehicle. I just had no idea what it was going to be. I had no idea it was going to be in the money industry. But I just knew that, look, I've done it once, and I can take that thread of success in my fabric of life as an athlete, and I can use that to find what the next success is going to be, and let that be the driving force to fulfill my dream in life, my goals and dreams for my family. And that's what I used, man. And so looking back now, I can go, you know what? God had a bigger purpose for me than just being an athlete. He wanted me to have more direct effect on more people, in helping more people have the same success that we've been able to build. That's what he wanted for us. And that's why that event happened. And so, man, there's just times in life when you go through it, you got to put faith in the process. That's what I've learned. I've put faith in the process, that there's a plan, and I've just got to keep pushing forward with total faith that what I want's already on its way. And if I do the right things long enough, success is inevitable.
Wow, once again, just your words, Josh, are incredible, my friend. So, like faith for me, like faith, it stands for find answers in the heart, because everything is on the way and nothing is ever in the way. Like the only things that are in the way is what we the roadblocks that we make in our mind, you know. But also, like you have to let go of the good in order to get the great, right? Because so many people are coming from this scarcity mindset, and me included, for a long, long time. Like our hands are filled up with good things. Oh, we got a good job. We got a good car. We've got good, whatever it could be, a relationship. I've got a good relationship. But good, who wants to live a good life? Some people may want to live a good life, and that's fine. But if you want to live a great and extraordinary life, an incredible, amazing life, you need to let go of the good stuff. You need to let go of the good in order to be able to grab a hold of the great, right? So, no,
Absolutely.
I just love what you said there, my friend.
I love what you said. And I have a question that I teach everybody to ask themselves when we find ourselves in a position where we go, you know what? My life's good, right? My life's good. I'm doing okay, right? Here's the question. And this comes to the awareness. And when you constantly ask yourself this question, your life just completely changes. Your mindset completely changes. You know what, Ryan? I'm doing good. Here's the question. As compared to what? As compared to what? As compared to the people you're surrounded with? Or as compared to Elon Musk? As compared to world changers? As compared to people that had the life that you wanted? See, when I started asking myself that question, I made good money. I made well into the six figures doing as compared to what? Josh, you're leaving your good job. You make good. As compared to what? So-and-so is worth $9.5 billion. I service him every day. As compared to what? What is our lens with which we're looking through life? And when we can change that lens, now we can see more is available for people like us. It's available. We just have to have the awareness that it is and know what we want and go after it, right? As compared to what? Ask yourself that question. Every time you want to rationalize something, ask yourself, as compared to what? Sorry.
Don't ever be sorry. That was amazing. Like, wow, like, I've never even thought of it that way. So, I mean, I've taken a lot away from there too, as compared to what I've never ever even thought or considered that. So, I mean, that is so powerful. And yeah, I'll just say to anyone listening, don't ever let good enough be good enough, right? And that question there, as compared to what, is so fantastic. So, Josh, thank you so much for sharing that with us. So that leads us on to the final question as we wrap up now. So, Josh, the final question would be, knowing what you know now, what one piece of advice would you give to your younger self?
You know, I'm going to take the one piece of advice and I'm going to break it into 3 bullet points, and they all tie together. And this is how I try and live my life today. The first is to understand the value and the power of mentorship. Find somebody who has what you want or is going where you want to go, is willing to teach you how to get there. And when you do, unhitch that little red wagon onto them, right? So the power of mentorship. Number 2 is a quote by my favorite author, Tim Grover, that says, you don't have to love the work. Too many people, especially through our educational systems, are taught to think about, what do you want to be in life? What do you want to do in life? No, that's out of order. The first question is, what do you want in life? What are your goals in life? Now let's find a vehicle that will enable you to accomplish those goals. Because I can love underwater basket weaving, Ryan, but an underwater basket weaving is not going to get me to my goals and dreams. I can have a passion for underwater basket weaving, but it's not going to allow me to accomplish the dreams I have for my family. So I got to identify the dreams, okay? And then understand that you can love the work, or excuse me, you don't have to love the work. You just have to crave the end result so intensely that the work you have to do to get it becomes irrelevant. Let me say that again. Tim Grover says this in his book, Relentless. You don't have to love the work. You just have to crave the end result so intensely that the work it takes to get there becomes irrelevant. So number 1, find a mentor. Number 2, be willing to do what it takes to accomplish your dreams. And number 3 is to serve people. I believe we were put on this planet to serve our brothers and sisters. And I believe that if we are not earning the income we want or having the impact we want, it comes back to one thing: to analyze the quality and the relevance of the service I'm providing to others. And if I want to make more money, I simply need to serve more people and solve bigger problems. And those would be the 3 things. If I go back and tell myself, when I was laying there on the ground, staring up at the sky after going through a back injury, knowing my dream was over as an athlete, if somebody whispered that into my ear, those 3 things: find a mentor, understand you don't have to love the work, you have to crave the end result so intensely the work becomes irrelevant, and to serve people. And the quality of the life I'm going to live is going to be defined by the number of problems I solve for others and the size of those problems and the frequency with which I can solve them to make other people's lives better, in which case we will be rewarded for that.
Wow. Again, I mean, that is so, so important. Like I say, make money the result of what you do and not the reason why you do it. Like, if you go out there to serve and help other people, the law of the universe, like, you will be paid as a byproduct based on the amount of value you provide to that community, that individual, that to the world. Basically, you will be paid at some point or another. But I say, like, any goal in life needs 3 things: it needs direction, action, and time. Because so many people fold whilst they're still unfolding. I heard Tim Story say that: never fold whilst unfolding. So Josh, thank you so, so much, my friend, for today. I've really enjoyed this episode. I can see you're writing stuff down now still, haven't you? You've been writing through this episode. Josh, people, like, guys, everyone that's been here, I'm sure so many people have taken a lot away from this. And Josh, how can anybody say that's listened or will listen to this follow you, follow your journey, connect with you and support you in any way? What's the best way for somebody to do that, Josh?
Yeah, you reach out, follow me on Instagram here, TikTok, all the handles are the same, at Josh B. Payne. And then within about the next 48 hours, you're going to see a big launch on joshpayne.com. So that'll be something that will be live here in about the next 48 hours. Very excited about that. You're going to see a huge brand launch, but certainly here on Instagram at Josh B. Payne, TikTok at Josh B. Payne. And man, let's go change the world together, Ryan. You're doing so many amazing things. You're such a power player and somebody who, you know, does things the right way with integrity, with the right heart, that heart-centered leadership, man. And it just is an honor to spend some time with you today. From across the pond, my friend.
Josh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And likewise as well, like you inspire me so much. And again, I said it at the start, I'll say it again, like every time that I hear you speak, like the passion that you put into it, like I just get so inspired, and you said so much. I can't wait to re-listen to this episode and re-watch this episode. So Josh, thank you so much. Everybody that's come on as well, thank you so much. And yeah, Josh, I'll see you on the other side, my friend.
Sounds great, my brother. Thank you so much.
Cheers, Josh.
You're amazing.
Cheers, my friend. Cheers, everybody. Bye-bye.